One of the important concepts in C++ you need to understand is passing arguments by value or reference. Let's see how this works. So I'm going to define a function called increasePrice that takes a double. And here we set price to price times 1.2. So we are increasing the price by 20%. Now we can simplify this code like this. That's better. Now let's call this function in our main function. So first we declare a double called price and set it to $100. Then we call increasePrice. And finally, we print the price on the terminal. Let's run our program and see what we get. So we get $100. But what happened to the updated price? Well, over here, when we call this function and pass the price, a copy of the value stored in this variable is taken and stored in this parameter. So earlier I told you that the parameters of a function are like local variables in that function. So this parameter is like having a variable called price in this function. Also, earlier I told you that when we declare a variable, that variable is only accessible within the block in which it's declared. So this price variable is completely independent of this other price variable. This variable is only accessible within this block. This is called the scope of our variables. So we have two variables with the same name, but they have different scopes. They're essentially in two different locations in memory. So when calling this function, a copy of the value stored in this variable is taken and stored in this other location in memory. Okay? This is the reason why we didn't see the updated price. So in this function, we're updating the price, but this is a completely different variable from the one we have in our main function. Now, to see the updates, we have two choices. One option is to return the updated price from this function. So first, we change the return type to double, and then we return the updated price. Now, in our main function, when we call increasePrice, we get the result and store it in the price variable. Now, when we run our program, we see 120. Great. So by default, arguments are passed by value in C++. Now, this is totally fine, but if you have arguments that can contain large amount of data, this copy operation can be expensive. In those situations, we can pass arguments by reference. So instead of copying them between function calls, we use a single instance of a variable in memory. Let me show you how to do that. It's really easy. So we go in this function, and after the type of this parameter, we type an ampersand. Now this is called a reference parameter. A reference parameter references an existing variable. So when we call this function, this price variable that we have right here is essentially passed to this function. No copy is taken. And that means any changes we make to this price in this function is going to be visible outside of this function. So over here, when we update the price, the changes are impacting this price variable we have in the main function. So that means we don't need to return the updated price. So we can simplify our code. Like here we have to change the return type to void. And also, when calling this function, we don't want to get the return value. Our code is simpler. Now, if you run our program, we get the same result as before, okay? So this is passing arguments by reference. Now, you don't want to do this when dealing with numbers like integers or doubles, because a double only takes 8 bytes of memory. Copying 8 bytes is super fast, so it's nothing you need to worry about. But if we deal with arguments that contain large amount of data, we can improve the efficiency of our programs by passing arguments by reference. One example of this is when we deal with strings. So let me clear everything here and define our greet function one more time. So void greet takes a string, and here we print hello name. Now here we get a warning that says the parameter name is copied for each invocation. Now in this case, we know that the name of a person is often only a few characters. It's hardly more than 20 characters, but the string type can store large amount of text. That is why we're getting this warning. Now, to improve the efficiency of our program, once again, we can use a reference parameter. So we have an ampersand and the warning goes away. So back to our main function, if we declare a string and pass that to our greet function, no copy is taken. This variable that we have declared here will be passed to the greet function. And that means any changes we make to this parameter is going to be visible outside of this function. So after we print the name, if we accidentally set the name to A, then this change is going to be visible after we return from the greet function. So if we print the name, look what happens. Now for clarity, I'm going to add endl right here. Now let's run our program. So first we see hello Mosh, but then the name changes to A. This is not what we want. So this is a side effect of reference parameters you need to be aware of. Now to prevent this from happening, to prevent accidental changes, we can declare this parameter as a constant parameter. Now we get a compilation error, so we cannot accidentally modify this parameter, okay? So this is all about passing arguments by value or reference.